Right,
So,
and then you end up kind of the scenario I see is if a person's coming out of pocket, they end up spending so much money hunting other doctors, copays, medications, no answers.
hmm
So like you say, you kind of have to weigh what they can afford. But then the next question is, can they not afford it? Because if they
yep,
continue to be sick, what then are you looking at?
yep. Yeah, I found that reference. It is celiac.com, and it's a Kenneth Fine Early Diagnosis of Gluten Sensitivity Before the Villi Are Gone.
Yeah, good article.
Very good article. So, and he's broken down the whole history of testing and how it takes place and how he's reached the conclusions that he's reached. I called down there, it was about a year ago, and she said he was writing a book, and I wanted to. I told him to put me on the list because I was looking forward to reading that book. But so that's kind of what happens on the immune sensitivity side. Then I do again neuroscience because of the fact that they have this affordability. We do a lot of neurotransmitter testing. I mean, because I'm a psychiatrist, it's a very natural place for me to be. We see people refractory to years and years of psychiatric care. I've done it myself, so I'm not casting dispersions on anyone else. I mean, if a person doesn't have serotonin, and we don't know that they don't have serotonin, we're going to do what I've done for years. I've done this for 40 years, so I've missed it, a big portion of that time because the testing wasn't available. Or I was thinking, hey, those are functional medicine people. They don't know what they're doing. I'm a scientist over here, and they're not in science, which was totally an incorrect point on my view. In fact, I think what's going on over with the molecular and cellular physiology side on the functional medicine side, they're way ahead of what's going on over on the psychopharm side in certain respects, but in terms of how the body and the mind and the neurotransmitters all work together. With the cautionary note, and people say, well, that's a little edgy, Parker. Neuroscience is, they're measuring neurotransmitters. Some people disagree with that. Metametrics disagrees with that, for example. Dr. Lord and Dr. Brawley think that that's not quite kosher. They want to measure very specific 5-HIAA, those kinds, and DOPAC. They want to look very specifically. But what I found in my practice is that measuring neuroscience really is helpful. They're biomarkers. They're not definitive, this is what's going on with your brain. They are biomarkers. And so as biomarkers, it's just like getting a high sensitivity C-reactive protein or a cholesterol. It's a marker. It's not telling me the diagnosis. I'm not using it as a diagnosis. I'm using it to see how I can actually come in there and actually rebalance things. So we use their hormone testing. We use sputum analysis on hormones. We do all the adrenal, we see tons of overlooked estrogen dominance. It's just very, very frequent. I mean, I can't tell you that every day, if I have, like on a busy Wednesday, I usually do my new patients on Wednesday. I can have eight or nine new people on Wednesday. And the women, almost to a person, I ask them estrogen dominance questions, and no one's ever asked them about it. So we measure all that. We measure the neurotransmitters. We look at the immune dysfunction. By the time we're done with that, we've got three main areas very significantly on paper that we can intervene on. And all of those three systems are communication pathways. I mean, the cytokines from the immune system are going to dysregulate neurotransmitters. The neurotransmitters themselves are downstream from, actually we're dealing with pre-synaptic neurotransmitter activities. And then, the whole other thing of the hormones that completely, it's quite common knowledge that hormones can affect neurotransmitter regulation. You can get depressed from PMS, that sort of thing. So, and thyroid function, we do all that because we think if we're going to really fix that person, we can't just look at the brain. We used to think of the mind as being up on the top of Mount Everest, up in the stratosphere, in some kind of perfect, clear, untainted area. And actually what we find is the mind is really the best canary in the coal mine for what's going on with the body. I mean, you can see the mind going off before you have the heart attack.
Right.
And so if you really look at that mind thing, and a deficiency there, or a cognitive disarray, or having weird thoughts or sleep, and the brain is dysregulated, you know something's going on. Then we do all this other testing, and we have a lot of luck with that. We really very frequently come up with a whole panoply of things that we need to jump in and fix. And then sometimes we use brain scans. We still use brain scans. We use brain scans mainly as an intervention tool now, not as a definitive diagnostic tool, because I don't think brain scans are as diagnostic as some say they are. I think they're helpful, but as I said a moment ago, just because a person's got quote-unquote ring of fire doesn't mean they are bipolar by any means. It means that they've got a hot brain that could be related to a number of other somatic issues that are below the surface. So, anyway, that's kind of a quick summary. I think what for me is just a heck of a lot of fun being a traditional psychiatrist, and I'm actually planning to do a whole series of trainings for mental health people that want to get over and look at that situation, all these things more carefully. I'm kind of running by them very quickly, but I think there are a number of individuals in the country who see this and want to do more and just don't know how to do it. So I'm going to be having that. I'm going to be having a training process available through Core Psych. I've been writing about this for 3 years at Core Psych blog. And if people didn't quite understand what I said, I'll spell it out real quickly: COREPSYCH blog.com. And I've got over 250 posts. And I write about the interplay and the interface between I got distracted by my little beep. I forgot to turn my phone off. The interplay between traditional psychiatry and what we're talking about here, really the molecular and cellular physiology of the body, and there's an interface there. And if we're going to be comprehensive, we need to really do the whole thing instead of just looking at a piece of it.
Well, I'd be interested in that course that you're putting together. I actually have similar coursework that I've put together for functional medicine training for physicians, and so maybe we could help each other, help a lot more people out.
Good. I would welcome the opportunity to do that with you.
So that was really kind of an elaborate explanation. I appreciate that, because I think a lot of people can take away from that, and at least if they're out of answers or don't have answers, they can go to their doctors and they can inquire about some of these tests, and potentially not only help educate their own doctors, but help get themselves a little bit more of a functional type of help, so that they can quit searching and not finding the right answers.
Yeah, it's just more options. I mean, the science gives us more options. And neuroscience evidence will change thinking. And when it changes thinking on several different levels. I mean, there's a double entendre there, because you can actually change your own personal thinking, but it changes the way we think about these disorders.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a fun time to be in practice right now, because there's so much new science and there's so many new lab tests that are becoming available that are helping determine treatment protocols and guidelines and diagnostics, and it's like you said, it's just not going to get boring anytime soon. There's so much coming out.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm having fun every day. And a person says, well, I talk to a person and say, they're like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? This is going to be terrible. I've got so many bad things. I said, look, this is going to be fun because we got answers we didn't have. And this is not going to be difficult. And if it doesn't work, we're going to be able to find out. We got a whole other layer of stuff behind this, that if we can't get it from this, we're going to find it, because the science is there. It's pretty doggone encouraging.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many more answers available now than what there were even just 5 years ago.
So true.
Well, I really appreciate you taking this much time talking with us today. I'm gonna be in touch with you again if that's okay. I'd like to pick your brain a little bit more and share some ideas. But for the listeners, if you would like to find Dr. Parker, he's at corepsychblog.com. That's correct?
Yes, sir.
And any other websites or any other projects that you're working on that people can go to, or is that the main one?
Well, if they go there, then they can really. I've got actually too much. I've got to clean that site up a little bit, but I've got a lot there. I just finished a book on ADHD medications, which I think are being used indiscriminately and inappropriately. And the title of that book is The Patient's Guide for ADHD Medications, What to Do When Nothing's Working. And it's an interface between the meds that work and the neurophysiology, how we can actually understand it better. We spent a whole chapter on sleep, a whole chapter on breakfast, proteins, neurotransmitters. We spend a lot of time on that. So if people come over there, they can remain hooked up, and we could tell them about that part of it too.
Okay, great. Excellent resource.
Thank you so much for having me, Peter. I learned some things from you today. I really appreciate the conversation that we had.
Yeah, same here. And you have a great afternoon, and I'll be in touch with you soon.
Thank you. You too. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Peter.